In today's video, we're going to talk about how to travel for free. So I went to Guatemala in the summer this year, and I was able to travel completely for free. So how did I actually do it? I did three things. The first thing is I used the Chase credit cards. There's three of them that I want to talk about. I'm going to teach you guys how to combine all the cards together. The second thing I did is I used a website called Workaway, which is what I used to volunteer. And the third thing is that since this is a math channel, I'm going to teach you guys the 1% trick to calculate points. The first credit card that you should use is a Chase Sapphire Preferred credit card. If you can spend $4,000 on the first 3 months, you will get $750 back towards travel such as airlines, hotels, and different stays. Now, most people are afraid of that $95 annual fee. What I'm here to tell you is there's nothing really to be afraid. Because if you actually do the math, $750 divided by 95, that's about 8. So you essentially get the credit card for free for 8 years. And once that, $4,000 is purchased, you can still use a credit card. And it's great for things like travel and dining rewards. So what I'm going to teach you guys right now is called the 1% trick. So let's say that you're not spending on travel or dining for that year, and you spend $10,000. It's a nice even number. So the 1% trick is you put the decimal point at the very end, move it 2 times to the left, and so 1% of 10,000 is $100. So if you spend $10,000 and 1% of that is essentially $100 worth of cash back, which is pretty good for travel. Now, let's say that you spend only $10,000 but at 2%, such as travel and dining only. So let's do the math. How does the 1% trick here work? Well, you do the same thing. So 1% of 10,000, get rid of 2 zeros, which is 100. Now 2%, how do we go from 1% to 2%? Well, we multiply times 2. And so you would get essentially $200 cash back. So that's how the 1% trick and the 2% trick works. The next credit card that should be gotten after you get the bonus, $750, is the Chase Freedom. This is a pretty good card because, if you can spend $500 in the first 3 months, you get $150 back, and you can use that for traveling. And the great thing about this one is that even after that bonus is up, every single category, every single 3 months or so, there's going to be 5% categories. So you can see for this year that in January through March, it's going to be gas station, tolls, drugstores. April through June, it's grocery stores. July through September is gas stations. So these are things that are, heavily spent on. And you get 5% back. Let's do the 5% math. So how it works is, let's say we have $10,000. At 1%, take out 2 zeros, so it's $100. At 5%, you multiply times 5, and then that means you essentially get $500 back, pretending that all you did was spend $10,000 a year on the 5% category only. So that's a pretty good way to get 5% cash back, is through this credit card. Alright, so with this one, this is the third credit card you should apply to. It's the Chase Freedom Unlimited. So this one you earn 3% cash back on everything you purchase on the first year. So let's say you purchased, $10,000 worth of stuff. Well, at 3% back, you do the 1% trick, get rid of 2 zeros, so it's $100. And at 3%, you multiply times 3, and so you essentially get $300 worth of cash back, and which you can use for travel and other things. And after the first year, it no longer is 3% cash back, but it turns into 1.5% cash back. So this is what I call the Chase triangle. So how do I know which credit cards to use and at which time? Well, it depends on what you're buying. So for example, if it's going to be dining and travel, you should use a Chase Sapphire Preferred card because you get 2% back. Now, if you're, at a certain category or month, such as, January through March or whatever, and whatever that 5% category is, you should swipe using the Chase Freedom card. Now, for everything else, you should use the Chase Freedom Unlimited if it doesn't go into one of these two categories. And so the first 2 weeks of my travel in Guatemala, I actually did a website called workaway.info. So this one, pretty much you volunteer somewhere, and it can be, at a Christian missionary base, it could be a hostel, it could be a hotel, it could be a farm, it could be taking care of kids. But essentially, in return for your work, you get free housing, and then you also get 3 meals per day, and then some of them even have compensation. So the first 2 weeks of my travel, I worked at a missionary base, and all I did was just computer work. And so things like building websites, Excel, making Microsoft Word, just different computer things. And I literally paid nothing the first 2 weeks. And I also talked to other people who did work away at hostels. And at this one particular hostel, it was by Lake Atalan. And so they provided free housing, 3 meals a day, and also free yoga classes in the morning. And so Workaway is a great website to get, free housing and then free meals, wherever you are in the world. And they have Workaway in pretty much every single country, and there's always volunteers that are needed. And in return, you get a free stay and free food, and that's really the best way to travel completely for free.